What's going on, everybody? It's Tuesday the 24th of September 2024. It's 2:20 p.m. here in Germany. This is the Insanity Report for today. And this is not really a new story, but it's one that I thought was important nevertheless, because it's important that everybody start paying attention to these kind of things. So if you know any of the people in power at the moment, you know who Lindsey Graham is, and you know who Elizabeth Warren is, and they are actually on opposite teams, right? So Elizabeth Warren is a Democrat, a complete lunatic Democrat lefty, and the Lindsey Graham is supposed to be a Republican, but he's basically a RINO, and RINO, as we all know, is the Republican in name only. He loves giving all your money to Ukraine. He's gung-ho on war. He's not really a conservative Republican in the sense of the kind of conservative Republican that you would need running the country in America. He's very critical of Trump. He basically is on board with the Democrats, and he and Elizabeth Warren have seemingly teamed up ever since last year. I mean, they've been at this for a year, working together on a bill, basically a new law. They want to create a new regulatory body. So they want to create this new regulatory body to regulate big tech a little bit more. Now, first, let's look at the regulatory body thing. Guys, everybody that has a brain cell, that has been looking at what's been going on the last 10 years almost, maybe a little bit less, 8-9 years, ever since Trump got elected in 2016, the world has gone completely batshit crazy, right? We all know it. Everybody knows it. It's not new information. That's what people like me and most of the people that haven't joined into this leftist ideology are trying to do, is trying to fight back against this creeping totalitarianism, this creepy shit that's going on the last 8 years. And one of the things we've learned from gathering information, hearing information, spreading information, one of the big things we know is that the governments in these Western countries, especially that in America, is way too big. We need to start cutting new departments, or start cutting departments, not creating new ones. We need to start defunding weaponized justice systems, weaponized or three-letter agencies. We need to start defunding them and rooting out the rotten, right? We don't need more regulatory bodies, more insane government entities that need to get more money to do regulation that's not going to do anything except for harm or restrict the American citizens that pay the taxes and, by the way, elect people like Lindsey Graham and Elizabeth Warren. So it's wonderful they're working together, but I've said this many times. Every time these days that Republicans and Democrats work together, it's at the peril of the American taxpaying citizen. It's never something to benefit you. You know what I mean? It's always something that's going to screw you, or, infringe on your rights, or take away your freedoms, or cost you more tax money. It's never something that's going to benefit you, alleviate the tax money, anything like that. So when they work together, always pay attention. And what they want to do is they want to create a body that will have far-reaching powers. They'll have the power to regulate big tech. They'll have the power to investigate big tech, and they'll have the power to force compliance on big tech to anything, basically, that they will describe in this bill. And one of the things they're talking about is people getting harmed online. Look, guys, listen. People are not getting harmed online. You know who's getting harmed online? Victims of child porn. Those people are getting harmed online. People getting misgendered, and people calling men, and people criticizing the tyrannical government in the West. Those people are not harming people. That's not hate speech or any shit like that. You know what I'm saying? Hate speech doesn't exist. Free speech exists, right? As free citizens and free people, we have the right to say whatever we want. At least, even in the country like I live in Germany, where you really don't have the right to say whatever you want, I demand my right. I take my right to say whatever I want. And if they want to come after me for it, then they can. but I'm not paying any fines. I'm not going to be doing any jail time. Fuck them. You know what I'm saying? And see, if you get a bill together and you give a new bureaucracy a whole bunch of new powers in order to counter people getting harmed online, you know what I mean? And of course they want to go after, illegal things as well. But again, guys, you don't need a new bill for that. We don't need a whole new government department. We don't need a whole new government entity that needs to be funded, which money that we don't have, because as you remember, the United States is like $35 trillion in debt. And basically the GDP, the money that the country is getting on tax revenue is almost exclusively at this point going to the interest on the debt that the country has made. That means you're broke, okay? It may not seem like it, but you're broke. You know what I mean? It means there's no way to be able to catch up on this debt. None, especially not since the United States is getting more and more in debt every single day. You know what I'm saying? By funding a whole bunch of shit that nobody needs, including the Taliban, right? And what Lindsey Graham and Elizabeth Warren want to do is go, yeah, well, we don't have the money for this, and it's going to infringe on the rights of the American people, because that's what all of our laws do. See the Patriot Act, see the tyrannical shit during COVID, see all the censorship, basically creating a government body that's going to force regulation down on the tech companies, and they're going to force them into compliance, and they're going to be able to investigate at whim. That's like basically they're going around the court system. Right now, the government will need a court case in order to sue big tech for something that they may have done. And hey, I agree, big tech is too censorious for sure. They shouldn't be putting their thumb on the scale as to what the people using their platform are saying, but they are, and they're being allowed to. Should there be regulation on that? Sure. Do you need a whole body for that? No. You just create a law, one single law with a couple of lines, and you say that the First Amendment will apply to people using social media and people on the internet, and that none of these companies are allowed to censor American citizens without it being against the law. Okay, so if a citizen calls for violence or murder on somebody or something like that, then they can censor them. Okay, they can censor them. Not only that, because that's illegal, they should report that to the police. The police should go and then arrest that person for inciting a murder or inciting violence of some way. Other than that, pretty much all speech is legal. Okay, if you want to stop child porn on the internet, then you go after the people making and downloading and viewing the child porn. You don't make a whole new body that has to be funded to millions of dollars a year, probably again, to be able to have complete and total rule and authority over social media companies. It's an overreach. They don't need to do this. The laws to get rid of child porn and illegal activity on the internet are already in place. We don't need Lindsey fucking totalitarian Graham to go ahead and team up with Democrats and call it bipartisan with a big pat on their backs. You know what I'm saying? In order to create a new body, new laws, and new regulatory powers for a new entity created by the government, making it even bigger than it already is. We don't need that in order to enforce already laws that are already there. These politicians are creating too many laws and regulations that don't mean squat. You know what I mean? We've already got the laws and the regulations that we need in place at the moment in order to enforce the laws and regulations that we have at the moment. We don't need a bunch more shit. We don't need to start throwing more money at the problem. We don't need to give the government more power. It already has the power. And if we want to do something about that, you know what would benefit the citizens? If Lindsey Graham and Elizabeth Warren came up with a plan and a law that made it illegal for social media companies to censor Americans for legal speech at the behest of the government or at the behest of anybody else. Make it illegal. That's not going to be such a long law. It's not going to be such a long bill. You don't need 3,000 pages for it, and you can't put anything else in it. They just have to write 5 lines. Social media companies and internet providers will not censor, will not engage in the work of censorship against the American people for speech that is legal and lawful. Period. You don't need to describe again what's legal and lawful, because that's described in the First Amendment of the Constitution. Already all in place. No need for Lindsey Graham to overheat his little fucking RINO brain, or for Elizabeth Warren to get sidetracked in, I don't know, fighting for everybody to have abortion until birth, or whatever the hell they're doing, you know, or trans operations, or whatever the fuck Elizabeth Warren stands for. You know what I mean? We don't need them working together to restrict Americans even more than they already are, or to design some exotic looking bill that makes it seem like they're protecting Americans, but they never do. Okay? So that's it's a waste of money. They're wasting your money thinking about shit that's already fixed. And if it's not, it just requires a couple of lines of law to fix it for the benefit, into the benefit of the American people and the tax-paying citizen. What they need is less government. What they need is less involvement from the government and simple, straightforward, obvious, clear-cut laws and regulations that govern the society. Not this overbearing, overgrown, bureaucratic monster that is already there in the United States and in every Western country in America, in the world at the moment. These bureaucracies and these overinflated governments need to be reduced at all costs. That's very important, and we all know it. The reason why I'm telling you about this, okay, is this is what you need to pay attention to. Once Donald Trump gets elected, okay, then there's going to be more elections every 4 years, every time. They're in different states at a different time. It's up to if we retain our freedom and we grapple with the fact that we're able to push this totalitarian mindset in government and in the positions of power out of the door. We get rid of it. It's going to take vigilant and informed citizens in order to keep that going. The reason why we got here in the first place is because people became apathetic, uninterested, uninformed, and uncaring about what was going on in their politics in their countries. And so that made it so that people who don't have your best interests at heart, that have only their own interests at heart, that those people are now at the levers of power. And we need to get them out. So people need to start paying attention to what their congresspeople, their senators, what their representatives are doing. The information is available. It's freely available. You know, it's available on government websites. It's not like it's going to take an undercover journalist to figure out what Lindsey Graham and what Pocahontas are doing. They make that public. You can watch also the stuff on C-SPAN. But see, the time that most people know about these kind of bills is when they've been passed and they're law. You need to know about it before they're passed. So here's an example of one of those things that's not going to be in your best interest, that's done by two people that don't have your interest at heart. See, even your RINO Republican Lindsey Graham is not on your side. He's on Elizabeth Warren's side. He's on the side of let's regulate hate speech and let's stop let's make sure that we can just have the power to do whatever we want with social media companies and internet companies. Let's create a bigger government, more government, more money to Ukraine, you know, less for the American people. That's what he's about. But the only way you find out how that's what he's about is if you figure out what he's doing. And it doesn't take that much time and effort, people. You need to start primarying these people. Lindsey Graham has been in office for 1,000 years. Get rid of the guy. He is not working in your interest. He's working in the interest for Ukraine, for the deep state, the bureaucracy, the military-industrial complex, and himself, and for Democrats. That's not your guy. He needs to go. And this counts for everybody watching this. Check before, when there's an election, for your representatives in your state, so your state representatives, whether it's governor, whether it's going to be senators or congress people, before you vote on these people, check their record out a little bit. And if you find things like this in there, they are not your guy. And if you are checking the record and it's not election time, and you see one of your representatives engaging in stuff like this bill, which is basically the Patriot Act for the internet, okay? It sounds really good and it sounds really necessary because we need to counter online hate and terrorism, and we need absolute power. That's always the government solution. The government solution is never to just solve the problem. No, the government solution is always, well, we'll solve the problem by giving us absolute power, and if we can't have absolute power, we're not going to solve the problem. That's how they do it. That's the game. That's what they're doing. That's what Lindsey Graham is doing. Get rid of this guy. The guy is fucking useless. You know why he's useless? Because he's not looking out for the interests of the people that voted for him. He's looking out for other interests. And they may change over time, But just look at his record, and you'll see things like this, things like constant support for Ukraine, and look at other people's records. We need people who are informed. We need people who know what's going on, and not people who just blindly vote for whoever their neighbor, their mother, their grandpeople, parents, their community, their wife, whatever, their husband. Not just people who vote for just because somebody else is voting for them. We need people who are informed and know why they're voting for people. And I bet you Lindsey Graham has gotten into office over and over again by being voted in by people who don't even know why they voted for him. They voted for him because he's always been there. They voted for him because they're like, well, but it's Lindsey Graham. You know what I'm saying? He's the guy. We voted for him 100 times. He's always there. It's the easiest. We're not dead. We're not in a gulag. So Lindsey Graham must be doing something right. That's about the gist of it. But that's pathetic, people. That's pathetic. You can't have a free society like that. We see already that by being lazy, by being uninformed, by being uncaring and uninvolved, we see where that has gotten us. We have let the totalitarians take over. We've given them free rein, and that needs to stop. And the only way we can stop it is if we start paying attention to what these corrupt-ass politicians are doing. Lindsey Graham should be out of office as quickly as possible, and I'm sure there are many more like him. So let's get Donald Trump in the White House and let him put together his team, and then it's up to the citizens again when voting time comes around for these representatives to start primarying these people and demanding better representation. That's the story, okay? So, now this bill that Lindsey Graham and Elizabeth Warren have been working on has apparently not been signed into law. I don't know what's taking so long. I don't know exactly if maybe it's stalled, maybe they don't get along anymore, maybe he's too busy, jerking off Zelensky. I don't know what the reason is why it hasn't gone forward, but it hasn't. And if that's because of a vote, then you could thank the people that voted against it that are keeping it down. But they're going to keep trying. People like Elizabeth Warren and Lindsey Graham, they are going to keep trying to gain absolute power. That's their goal. That's what they want. And people like that are exactly the people, they're precisely the people that you don't want running the show in America. Guys, this is a lesson. This is a lesson. Keep an eye on what these people are doing. Don't be lazy. I know people have got stuff to do. I get it. You know what I mean? If anything, at least look at the record of the person you're voting for. At the very least, please. And you can figure out if they're for maximum freedom and individual rights and the Constitution, and you can figure out real fast if they're not for it. So guys, if you want to get all my videos, all of my articles directly in your inbox as they're published, all you got to do is subscribe to my Substack below. The links are down there. You can do it for free. You can do it for $5 a month. Either way, I appreciate it. And I'm getting bigger and bigger. It's going slowly, but I'm getting more and more subscribers every day. It's great. I appreciate it greatly. If you're looking at this or watching this on another platform like Rumble or TikTok or X or YouTube, then go ahead and follow me there. But still go to my Substack page and register there, even if it's for free, because it's easier for you, it's easier for me. I can reach everybody centrally, and you can get all my content centrally, and that's just the easiest way to go. Substack is great. They're non-censorious, so I can say everything and write everything I want there, and that's what I want you to be able to see. I want you to be able to see that content. So get it at it'sallaboutlogic.substack.com. Again, it'sallaboutlogic.substack.com. That's the subject page. It's All About Logic is all one word. Go there, subscribe now. See you tomorrow.